The boy had his mother slip her hands into the straps, and then repeat the back and forth weaving motion. Although this effectively relieved her arm pain, it reduced her work efficiency, yet it was precisely this experience that led him to revolutionize the market for handwoven fabrics in India. Weaving back and forth tens of thousands of times a day had long since caused his mother's arms to develop a chronic condition. So, over the next decade, Mallesh never stopped observing and searching for ways to lighten the burden, until one day, his bicycle chain suddenly came off. It took him a great deal of effort to put the chain back on. Finally, as he watched the wheel turn, it clicked. After several days of working day and night, he used 2 wheels and a few pieces of scrap wood to build the prototype of his first loom. 2 friends walked into the warehouse and mocked him, calling it the most ridiculous invention they'd ever seen. The neighbors all laughed at his wild imagination, and even his parents urged him to do what adults should do, like finding a good woman to marry and start a family. That way, his wife could inherit the craft and help his mother weave cloth to earn money, and a sweet marriage would make Mallesh put the loom out of his mind. Just 6 months later, his wife's arm was in so much pain she couldn't lift it. When Mallesh discovered this, his heart ached immediately, so Mallesh turned his thoughts back to the loom. After his wife understood how the machine worked, she realized her husband's persistence had been justified. She decided to support Mallesh in continuing his work. Unexpectedly, Mallesh looked troubled and said, "We don't have any funds for research and development." For the sake of Mallesh's venture, his wife decided to contribute her entire savings of 1,000 rupees. Mallesh then began to devote himself to research and development. This time, he didn't tell a single soul. Months later, the rudimentary loom was finally complete. Mallesh called his friends over to witness this momentous occasion. He started the machine, and to his surprise, it actually ran smoothly. But after only a few seconds, the motor suddenly exploded. The deafening blast shattered his life's work and plunged his life into an abyss. He had bought the motor with money borrowed from loan sharks, hoping it would allow him to pay off his debts. Now, however, he was being threatened by his creditors, dragging his family into a quagmire of debt. His father disowned him, calling him a wastrel, and his mother felt a disappointment she had never known before. That night, Mallesh left home, walking to the riverbank without looking back. It wasn't until dawn that he returned to his wife, his body exhausted. His wife had cried all night long, yet not only did she not blame him, but took out her dowry jewelry to help him pay off the debt. She set one condition. However, he must build the machine within 2 years. To allow Mallesh to build the machine and earn money, they decided together to move to the city. Time flew by, and a year later, Mallesh returned home to visit his parents and planned to take the machine with him. Unexpectedly, his father strongly opposed the idea. In his view, the machine was a thankless task, so his father forbade Mallesh from touching it again, and even poured gasoline directly onto the machine. Days of hard work were destroyed, yet Mallesh praised his father for doing him a great favor. Everyone thought Mallesh had been traumatized, but unexpectedly, he had actually gained insight. In fact, the wooden machine couldn't generate enough power, and Mallesh had been stuck in the same place all along because he had spent so much money on it and couldn't bear to throw it away. So Mallesh returned to the city full of confidence. He worked day jobs to earn money and spent his nights in his rented room building the loom. Finally, a year later, he built his second loom. Amid the rhythmic hum of its operation, he heard the sound of success. But when his wife saw it, she said it wasn't right. The weaving technique shouldn't just be a circular motion. Hearing this, Mallesh felt as if the sky had fallen. He had watched his mother weave since childhood, but had never noticed this detail. This meant that most of his efforts had been in vain once again. Mallesh took out all his frustration on the loom. He decided to dismantle the machine and sell it. Now, only 2 weeks remained until the deadline he'd set with his wife. Mallesh felt deeply guilty about his broken promise. Selling the machine as scrap was his way of cutting his losses. But his wife couldn't bear to see her husband's life's work destroyed. She pleaded with him to buy the machine back, but Mallesh remained unmoved. The very next day, Mallesh discovered all it takes is a tiny cylinder to wind the thread crisscross, so he rushed to the scrapyard, stopped the truck just as it was about to leave, and brought his parts back home. After Mallesh's modifications, the loom was finally ready. He couldn't wait to transport it back to his hometown, where he assembled it, tested it, and threaded the loom. Everything was ready. Even the neighbors who had once mocked him came to watch, but this time, he pressed the switch with full confidence. He quickly took the engine apart. It turned out to be just a minor issue with an aging circuit. The problem was solved in no time. Years of hard work had finally paid off. This marked the end of the era of handwoven textiles.